This is Curtis. How are you doing today? Hey, today we're going to talk about our leadership covenant, right? And first of all, you may ask, well, hey, what's a covenant? Well, a covenant is an agreement that two parties enter into willingly, committed to a shared outcome. And here at Calvary, that shared outcome is to make disciples. And we get that mandate from Matthew 28:19, where Jesus told his disciples to go and make disciples of all nations. An important note for this is that we believe a covenant community is all in. It means there's a shared vision where everyone is working together in spiritual unity with biblical lifestyle standards and core values that honor the Lord as well as one another. A covenant helps the leaders at Calvary to better serve our church with mutual devotion to Christ and an unwavering commitment to make disciples without compromising our foundational values. And we see a biblical basis for the covenant in Nehemiah 9. And in Nehemiah 9, what was happening there is the people had rediscovered the law, and they were reading about how God's righteousness wasn't being fulfilled in the way they were living. Their community wasn't living the way God intended. So there in Nehemiah 9, after reading the law, they said this: in view of all this, we are making a binding covenant, putting it in writing, and our leaders, our Levites, and our priests are affixing their seals to it. That's Nehemiah 9:38. And so we see the nation of Israel coming together and making a covenant, agreeing as a community in how they are going to live righteously as unto the Lord. And that is a biblical basis for a covenant, but we see this in other places as well throughout the Bible. Now, why a covenant, you may ask, right? In our ever-changing world, clarity around what we believe and why we believe it is becoming increasingly more important. Today, we see people questioning 2,000 years of orthodox biblical doctrine in favor of the feeling of the moment. And without clarity and unity of purpose, we will not be effective in our mission. You know, this covenant will help us to accomplish several things that are important priorities in our church today because of its shifting culture. One of those is it sets clear expectations and standards for leadership to make sure that we understand clearly what true spiritual maturity looks like in our church leadership. It also defines our statement of faith, what we believe from a doctrine and theological viewpoint, biblical lifestyle commitments in terms of how are we going to live Monday through Saturday, and what are we going to do in our communities as salt and light in being ambassadors for Jesus, as well as what are our family values. And we want to make those things known publicly, that we can say, this is how we choose to live in light of God's gospel. This also helps to provide clear expectations and boundaries for new and existing leaders. As well as a leadership covenant increases safety through by a thorough interview and signing process for new leaders, and as well as it's building trust in the connection through shared lifestyle commitments within our community. Right? And most of all, it explains the redemptive process of church discipline and why it is needed, because we do serve a redeeming God. So, how does this covenant help leadership development? Well, through this covenant, our hope is to provide a life-giving biblical framework for leadership here at Calvary. By encouraging Calvary volunteers and leaders to understand these shared beliefs and commit to these lifestyle standards as they lead others, we believe the health of our church will flourish, and there will also be an increased understanding that we are all accountable to the same expectations. We also believe that this covenant will help us to be better leaders and provide an outline for helpful conversations around discipleship. Now, how does this help fulfill our mission? Well, we believe this covenant will help us accomplish our mission to reach our community and change our world, which is the shared outcome we are working towards. We want this church to be filled with spirit-led men and women who love Jesus and want to make him known in our community and around the world. We share this common mission that Jesus gave us to make disciples, and we do not ask people to follow Jesus in ways we haven't followed him first as leaders. We want to be deeply connected to God, to each other, and to our mission of making disciples across the globe. As leaders, we must commit not only to lead with our words, but most importantly, to lead with our lives. So, what is in the leadership covenant? Well, there's 4 main things that are in the leadership covenant. One is our statement of faith. That is, what do we believe biblically based on doctrine and theology? What are those things that we deem that are we're just not going to compromise on? Second is our biblical lifestyle commitments. What are we going to agree as Christians as how we are going to live in a dark and hurting world in a way that we can truly be ambassadors for Christ? Third is biblical dispute resolution. When we do have conflict and disagreement among brothers and sisters in the family of faith, how can we be peacemakers and find reasonable and peaceful solutions for those situations? Fourth is church discipline. When a brother or sister is struggling in some aspect of their faith, how can we come alongside and best encourage them through that season and struggle? So, these documents show that we are committed to a peaceful biblical resolution and spiritually grounded church discipline approach. Now, we need to keep in mind, these are not new ideas or beliefs, but these highlighted important pieces of our DNA, and as a church, it speaks to the way we want to lead and shepherd the flock here at Calvary Chapel. So, if you have any questions about this, feel free to email me or contact your pastor or your overseer, and we will be more than happy to discuss in detail any thoughts or ideas you may have about this. My email is CurtisC@calvaryftl.org. That's Curtis, C-U-R-T-I-S, the letter C, at calvaryftl.org, and that will be in the description box below. But I wanted to say thank you. Thank you for watching this video. Thank you for coming alongside us and co-laboring with us to make disciples. Have a blessed day. Ciao, ciao.